The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched out like a cathedral made of light and metal. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of the circular room, feeling small beneath the towering holographic displays that showed star systems and trade routes. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species watched from their elevated platforms. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like floating crystals that hummed with energy. Jake had been to the council chambers 3 times before, but today felt different. The air itself seemed heavy with tension. Next to him stood Commander Ben Harper, his second-in-command, and Dr. Claire Watson, Earth's chief scientist. Both of them kept their faces neutral, but Jake could see the worry in their eyes. The Velcrin ambassador rose from his platform. He was a massive creature, nearly 8 feet tall, with purple skin that seemed to shift colors in the light. His forearms gestured dramatically as he spoke. "The human delegation will now hear the council's decision," the Velcrin announced. His voice boomed through the chamber, translated instantly by the neural implants all diplomats wore. "Your species has occupied territory in the Outer Rim for 15 years. These colonies exist in space that rightfully belongs to established powers." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The colonies the Velcrin mentioned were settlements that humanity had built on uninhabited worlds. Thousands of families lived there, farming and mining and building new lives far from Earth. "The Council has decided," the Velcrin continued, "that Earth must surrender control of these colonies. They will be placed under Velcrin protection. This is for your own good, humans. You lack the military strength to defend such distant holdings." Dr. Watson stepped forward. "Ambassador, those colonies are home to over 2 million human citizens. We have every right to—" "You have no rights beyond what the Council grants," the Velcrin interrupted. His eyes, all 6 of them, fixed on Watson with contempt. "Your species is young. Your technology is primitive. You should be grateful that we offer protection rather than simply taking what we want." Commander Harper's hand moved to his sidearm, but Jake touched his shoulder gently. "Starting a fight here would accomplish nothing. How long do we have to consider this offer?" Jake asked, keeping his voice steady. The Velcrin smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. 30 standard days. If you refuse, the Council will authorize military action. We have 200 warships ready to enforce compliance." Jake looked around the chamber. Some aliens avoided his gaze. Others watched with curiosity or pity. A few, like the representatives from the Thoraxian Collective, seemed pleased by Earth's predicament. "We will take your message back to Earth," Jake said. "But I need you to understand something. Humanity doesn't surrender easily." The Velcrin laughed, a sound like thunder. "Your courage is admirable but foolish. We have scanned your fleet, Captain Morrison. You have 37 warships, most of them outdated. We have been traveling the stars for 3,000 years. What could you possibly do against us?" Jake wanted to say so much more, but he bit his tongue. Instead, he bowed slightly, the gesture of respect that Council protocol required. Then he turned and walked toward the exit, Harper and Watson following close behind. Once they were back on their ship, the Horizon, Jake slumped into his command chair. The small diplomatic vessel felt cramped after the vastness of the council chamber. "They're going to take everything," Watson said quietly. "All those people we sent out there, all those families. They'll be slaves." "Not if Earth fights back," Harper suggested, but even he sounded doubtful. Jake activated the secure communication link to Earth. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Admiral Lisa Grant, the head of Earth's defense forces. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and eyes that seemed to calculate everything. "I watched the whole meeting," Grant said before Jake could speak. "The Velcrin are making their move exactly as we predicted." "Admiral, we can't fight 200 warships with what we have," Jake said. "Maybe if we ask for help from the Zorath Dominion." "The Dominion won't help us," Grant interrupted. "No one will. Earth stands alone, Captain. We always have." "Then what do we do?" Watson asked, leaning into the camera's view. Grant's expression changed. For the first time since Jake had known her, she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone holding a secret. "We show them what humanity is really capable of," Grant said. "Captain Morrison, I need you to return to Earth immediately. Set course for Sector 7 Gamma. When you arrive, you'll understand everything." "Sector 7 Gamma?" Harper frowned. "That's just an asteroid mining zone. There's nothing there." "That's what everyone thinks," Grant replied. "Maximum speed, Captain." We have a lot of work to do and only 30 days to do it. The screen went dark. Jake looked at his crew, seeing his own confusion reflected in their faces. You heard the Admiral, he said finally. Set course for home. Whatever she's got planned, it better be good. The horizon jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the Council station behind. As Earth grew closer over the next few days, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something massive was about to change. Grant wasn't the type to bluff. If she seemed confident, there had to be a reason. He spent the journey reviewing everything Earth had accomplished in the 15 years since joining the Galactic Council. Humanity had been busy. They'd traded for technology, learned alien languages, studied every species they encountered. But they'd also been careful. Earth never showed all its cards. The Council thought they knew everything about human capabilities, but what if they were wrong? Jake remembered something his father had told him before he died. His father had been a soldier in Earth's last global war, back before the planet united. The best weapon, his father had said, is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. As the horizon approached Earth's orbital space, traffic control directed them toward Sector 7 Gamma. Jake had flown through that region before. It was just rocks and ice, nothing special. Mining ships drifted between asteroids, gathering resources. But as they got closer, Jake noticed something odd. There weren't as many mining ships as there should be, and some of the asteroids seemed to be in strangely regular formations. Captain, Harper said from the sensor station, I'm picking up some weird readings. There's a lot of energy in this sector, more than mining operations would produce. Take us in closer, Jake ordered. The horizon moved deeper into the asteroid field. Then, without warning, Admiral Grant's voice filled the bridge. Welcome home, Captain Morrison, she said. What you're about to see must remain absolutely secret until I give the word. Are we clear? Yes, Admiral, Jake replied. Good, Grant said. Now open your eyes, and prepare to have everything you thought you knew proven wrong. In front of the horizon, space itself seemed to shimmer. The asteroids flickered like a broken holovid. And then, as the camouflage system deactivated, Jake Morrison saw something that made him forget how to breathe. The asteroid field disappeared like smoke in the wind. In its place, floating against the darkness of space, was a ship unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was enormous, stretching almost 3 miles from bow to stern. The hull was dark gray, covered in angular plates that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Hundreds of launch bays lined its flanks, and massive weapons platforms rotated slowly along its spine. What is that? Dr. Watson whispered, pressing her face against the viewport. That, Admiral Grant's voice came through the speakers, is the ECS Defiant, Earth's first supercarrier, and humanity's best-kept secret? Jake couldn't speak. He'd seen Velcrin warships before. The biggest ones were maybe half a mile long. This thing was 6 times that size. It looked like someone had taken a city and taught it to fly. How? Commander Harper finally managed to ask. How did we build something like that without anyone noticing? Follow the beacon, Grant replied. I'll explain everything once you're aboard. A glowing path appeared on the horizon's navigation display, leading them toward one of the Defiant's docking bays. As they flew closer, Jake started to notice details that made the ship even more impressive. The hull wasn't just armor plating. It was layered with what looked like shield generators built into the structure itself. Energy crackled along conduits that ran the length of the vessel, and sensor arrays covered every surface. The horizon slid into a docking bay that could have held 50 ships its size. As soon as they landed, the bay doors sealed behind them with a sound like thunder. Through the viewport, Jake saw crews working on fighters and frigates. Hundreds of people moved with purpose, all wearing Earth Defense Force uniforms. Admiral Grant was waiting for them at the bottom of the landing ramp. Next to her stood a younger man with oil-stained hands and tired eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Captain Morrison, Commander Harper, Dr. Watson, Grant said. Welcome aboard. This is Kyle Davis, Chief Engineer and the man who designed most of what you're standing in. Kyle nodded but didn't offer to shake hands. Sorry, Admiral Grant asked me to skip the pleasantries. We've got a lot to show you and not much time. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The Defiant was more than just big. It was a complete military installation that happened to be mobile. Jake saw barracks, training facilities, medical centers, and workshops. Everything Earth would need to fight a war far from home. The Council thinks we're weak, Grant said as they walked. They think because we're new to space travel, we're centuries behind them technologically. And we let them think that. For 12 years, every ship we sent to the council stations was deliberately outdated. Every piece of technology we traded for, we acted grateful and amazed. While secretly building this, Watson said, understanding dawning in her eyes. While secretly building an entire fleet, Grant corrected. The Defiant is the flagship, but she's not alone. We have 6 heavy cruisers under construction and hundreds of smaller vessels ready to deploy, but the Defiant is the crown jewel. They entered an elevator that took them up through dozens of levels. When the doors opened, Jake found himself on the bridge. It was circular, with stations arranged in rings around a central command platform. Holographic displays showed every system in Earth's solar system, with highlighted points marking defensive positions and patrol routes. Why show me this? Jake asked. I'm just a diplomatic captain. Surely you have better people to command something like this. Grant turned to face him directly. I'm showing you this, Captain, because you're about to become the Defiant's commanding officer. I need someone the crew will follow, someone who understands both military strategy and diplomatic nuance. You've seen the council up close. You know how they think. That makes you perfect for this job. Jake felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. Admiral, I've never commanded anything bigger than the horizon. This ship has a crew of thousands. I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than you know, a new voice said. Jake turned and saw a woman in a pilot's uniform approaching. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp features and confident eyes. Her name tag read Miller. Lieutenant Sophie Miller, she said, offering her hand. I'll be your helm officer. And trust me, sir, if Admiral Grant thinks you can do this, you can do this. Kyle Davis stepped forward. Let me show you what the Defiant can actually do. That might help you understand why we need someone like you in command. They moved to a tactical display. Kyle's fingers danced across the controls, bringing up schematics and data streams. The Defiant isn't just big, Kyle explained. She's revolutionary. Her shields can take hits from multiple capital ships at once. Her weapon systems use quantum disruption technology we developed based on alien designs but improved. We took their ideas and made them better. Way better? How much better? Harper asked. Kyle grinned. A standard Velcrin warship can disable a frigate in about 10 seconds of sustained fire. The Defiant's main gun can disable 20 ships that size in one shot. We've tested it on remote-controlled targets. It works. Watson pulled up another display. What about fighters? The Velcrin use swarm tactics. Their carriers launch hundreds of small attack craft. So do we, Lieutenant Miller said. Except our fighters are piloted using neural link technology. The pilot's thoughts translate directly into ship movements. Response time is 3 times faster than conventional controls. I've logged over 500 hours in simulators. A Velcrin ace wouldn't last 30 seconds against an average human pilot using neural link. Jake walked to the main viewport. From here, he could see the entire forward section of the Defiant. Gun emplacements, missile pods, fighter launch tubes. The ship was a weapon designed by people who understood what they'd be facing. You've thought of everything, he said quietly. We've tried to, Grant replied, joining him at the viewport. Jake, humanity has always been at its best when someone underestimates us. The Council looks at Earth and sees primitive apes who just learned how to build starships. They don't see what we really are. And what's that? Jake asked. Survivors, Grant said. Innovators. A species that spent thousands of years fighting each other and learned every dirty trick in the book. We took alien technology and didn't just copy it. We reimagined it. We made it better because we had to, because we knew one day someone would try to take what was ours. Jake thought about the Velcrin ambassador's smug expression. He thought about the 2 million colonists who would become slaves if Earth couldn't defend them. He thought about humanity's long history of being underestimated and proving the doubters wrong. When do I take command? He asked. Grant smiled. Right now. Captain Morrison, as of this moment, you are the commanding officer of the ECS Defiant. Your crew is already assembled and waiting. Your mission is simple. Protect Earth and her colonies from any threat. Use whatever force is necessary. Kyle handed Jake a datapad. This contains everything you need to know about the ship's systems. It's a lot of information, but you've got a good crew to help you learn. And you've got me if anything breaks. Lieutenant Miller saluted. The helm is ready when you are, Captain. Jake looked around the bridge one more time. Crew members were already taking their stations, moving with the practiced efficiency of people who knew their jobs. These weren't raw recruits. They were professionals who'd been training for this moment for years. "How long before the Velcrin fleet arrives?" Jake asked. 26 days, Grant replied, which gives you just enough time to run the ship through her paces and integrate with the crew. Jake, I won't lie to you. This is going to be the biggest battle humanity has ever fought. The Velcrin are bringing 200 warships. They expect an easy victory. Jake turned to face his new crew. Then let's make sure they're in for a surprise. All stations begin pre-flight checks. I want this ship ready for combat operations within the week. The bridge came alive with activity. Displays lit up, systems hummed to power, and the Defiant began to wake up like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. Admiral Grant put a hand on Jake's shoulder. "The Council is about to learn something important about humanity," she said. "We don't just survive, we win." As the Defiant's engines powered up for the first time in months, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velcrin were preparing their fleet, confident in their superiority. They had no idea what was waiting for them. 26 days went by faster than Jake thought possible. Every hour was spent learning the Defiant systems, running combat drills, and preparing his crew for what was coming. Lieutenant Miller proved to be an exceptional pilot, able to make the massive carrier move with surprising grace. Kyle Davis seemed to live in the engine rooms, constantly tweaking and improving systems. The crew worked together like they'd been doing this for years because in many ways they had. They'd just been waiting for someone to give them a ship worthy of their skills. Now that day had come. The Velcrin fleet had arrived. Jake stood on the bridge watching the tactical display. 200 red icons had just appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were arranged in a standard attack formation, moving toward Earth at a steady pace. Whoever commanded that fleet wasn't worried about being ambushed. They expected this to be easy. "All ships report ready, Captain," Commander Harper said from the tactical station. "Earth's conventional fleet is moving to intercept as planned." Jake nodded. Earth's visible fleet consisted of 37 warships, most of them small frigates and destroyers. They'd been ordered to engage the Velcrin, but their real purpose was to draw the enemy into a specific position. The Velcrin needed to believe they were winning. "Admiral Grant?" Jake asked, activating the communication link to Lunar Command. Grant's face appeared on the screen. "The politicians are safely in bunkers. Civilian evacuation of the orbital stations is complete. Earth is as ready as she'll ever be. It's your show now, Captain." Jake looked at his bridge crew. They were all young, younger than him in most cases. But their eyes showed no fear. They'd volunteered for this. They knew what they were risking. "Lieutenant Miller, keep us hidden for now. Let them come in closer." "Aye, Captain," Sophie replied. Her hands moved across the neural link interface and the Defiant's camouflage systems intensified. To any sensor, they would look like just another cluster of asteroids. The Velcrin fleet continued its advance. On the communication channels, their commander was broadcasting a message on all frequencies. "People of Earth," the alien voice said. "This is Fleet Commander Zektar of the Velcrin Empire. You were given a choice and you refused it. Now you will face the consequences. Surrender immediately and we will show mercy. Resist and we will reduce your planet to ash." Jake clenched his fist. The arrogance in that voice made his blood boil, but he kept his expression calm. His crew needed to see confidence, not anger. "Should we respond, Captain?" Harper asked. "Not yet," Jake said. "Let Earth's regular fleet reply." On the display, Earth ships opened communication channels. Jake recognized the voice of Captain Stone, commander of the frigate Liberty. "Velcrin fleet, this is the Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender our colonies or our freedom. If you want them, you'll have to take them." Zektar's laugh echoed through space. "So be it, all ships advance. Destroy anything that resists." The Velcrin fleet surged forward. Their warships were impressive, covered in weapons and shields that glowed with barely contained energy. They moved in perfect formation, a wall of metal and firepower bearing down on Earth's defenders. Earth's fleet opened fire first. Missiles and energy beams lanced out, striking Velcrin shields. Some shots got through, damaging armor and destroying weapon systems. But it wasn't enough. The Velcrin had superior numbers and technology, or at least they thought they did. "Earth's fleet is taking heavy damage," Harper reported. 3 ships destroyed, 5 more critically damaged. Jake watched the battle unfold. It was going exactly as planned, but seeing friendly ships explode still hurt. Those were real people dying out there, buying time for the Defiant to make her entrance. Captain Stone is leading the survivors toward grid reference Delta 7, Sophie noted. That's the target zone. Jake stood up from his command chair. How many Velcrin ships have followed? 150, Harper replied. The rest are moving to surround Earth itself. Perfect, Jake said. They've split their forces. Exactly what we wanted. He activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. In the hangar bays, pilots raced to their fighters. Gun crews loaded weapons. Marines secured critical sections. The Defiant transformed from a hidden fortress into a weapon ready to strike. Lieutenant Miller, drop the camouflage and bring us about. Put us directly between the Velcrin fleet and Earth. Aye, Captain. Dropping camouflage in 3, 2, 1. The asteroid field around them flickered and died. The Defiant appeared like a ghost becoming solid, her massive form blocking out stars. On the Velcrin communication channels, Jake heard confusion and disbelief. What is that? Where did it come from? Check your sensors. That reading can't be right. Jake smiled. Open a channel to the Velcrin fleet. Harper worked his console. Channel open, sir. Fleet Commander Zektar, Jake said, his voice carrying across space to every Velcrin ship. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth carrier ship Defiant. You came to our home expecting an easy victory. You thought we were weak, primitive, helpless. He paused, letting his words sink in. You were wrong. On the tactical display, Jake watched the Velcrin fleet hesitate. They were trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Their sensors had to be going crazy, showing them a ship that shouldn't exist. I'm giving you one chance, Jake continued. Turn around and leave Earth space. Go back to the Council and tell them humanity is not prey. We're not going to be anyone's slaves. Leave now or we'll show you exactly how dangerous primitive apes can be. There was a long silence. Then Zektar's voice came back and it was filled with rage. You think one ship will make a difference? Even if that monstrosity is real, you're outnumbered 200 to 1. All ships target that carrier. Destroy it! Jake nodded to Harper. I guess we do this the hard way. Release all fighters. All weapon systems active. Show them what the Defiant can do. The carrier's launch bays opened like the eyes of a waking god. Fighters poured out in streams of metal and light. 500 craft, each piloted by someone using neural link technology. They moved in perfect coordination, forming attack patterns that would have been impossible with conventional controls. The Velcrin tried to respond with their own fighters, but they were too slow. Human pilots, their minds directly connected to their ships, danced through space like they were born to it. Within minutes, half the Velcrin fighter screen was destroyed. Velcrin capital ships are opening fire, Harper reported. Multiple impacts on forward shields. The Defiant shuddered slightly as energy weapons hammered into her protective barriers. On the displays, Jake watched the shield strength indicators. They dropped to 95%, then stabilized. Return fire, Jake ordered. Target their command ship first. Let's cut off the head of this snake. The Defiant's main gun powered up. It was a massive quantum disruptor that ran the length of the ship's spine, channeling enough energy to crack a moon in half. When it fired, space itself seemed to tear open. A beam of pure destruction lanced out from the Defiant and struck Zektar's flagship. The Velcrin shields held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The beam punched through the ship's armor like it was paper, and the massive warship went dark, dead in space. Direct hit, Harper said, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Their flagship is disabled. Secondary targets, Jake ordered. Show them this wasn't luck. The Defiant's other weapons opened fire. Missiles streaked toward enemy ships, each one guided by AI systems that made them nearly impossible to intercept. Point defense lasers created a web of light, destroying anything that got too close. And from every gun emplacement, energy beams reached out to touch Velcrin hulls and find them wanting. Wing Commander Peter Stone's voice crackled over the communication system. Defiant, this is Stone. My squadron has broken through their left flank, requesting permission to go after their carriers. Permission granted, Jake replied. Take them out. He watched on the tactical display as Stone led 50 fighters in a daring run straight into the heart of the Velcrin formation. The aliens tried to stop them, but human reflexes and neural link technology made the pilots untouchable. They wove through incoming fire like they could see the future, and their weapons never missed. 3 Velcrin carriers exploded within minutes. Without their fighter support, The larger warships became vulnerable. The Defiant pressed the advantage, her guns never stopping, her shields holding against everything the Velcrin could throw at them. "Captain, the Velcrin are trying to flank us," Sophie reported. 50 ships breaking formation. Jake studied the tactical display and made a decision that should have been impossible. Prepare for emergency faster-than-light jump. New coordinates right behind their flanking force. Kyle Davis's voice came through from engineering. "Captain, we're too close to Earth's gravity well. A jump here could tear the ship apart. Can we do it or not, Kyle?" There was a pause. "Then we can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it." "Noted," Jake said. "Lieutenant Miller, execute jump on my mark." Sophie's hands flew across her console. "Jump coordinates locked. Ready on your order, sir." Jake waited until the flanking Velcrin ships were committed to their course. Then he said, "Jump now." The universe turned inside out. That was the only way Jake could describe what faster-than-light travel felt like when you were too close to a planet's gravity well. Every atom in his body seemed to be pulled in different directions at once. The lights on the bridge flickered. Alarm screamed. And for just a moment, Jake thought they'd made a terrible mistake. Then the Defiant emerged from the jump, directly in the path of the 20 Velcrin warships racing toward Earth. "Jump successful," Sophie gasped, gripping her console. "Hull integrity at 70%. We've got structural damage on decks 15 through 20. Can we fight?" Jake demanded. Kyle's voice came through, strained but functional. "Main weapons are online. Shields are holding. We're battered but operational, Captain." Jake looked at the tactical display. The Velcrin ships were so close he could see their individual weapon ports. They'd been going full speed toward Earth, and now the Defiant sat between them and their target like a wall made of steel and determination. "All weapons, fire at will," Jake ordered. "They don't get past us." The Defiant opened up with everything she had. Even damaged, even pushed beyond what her systems were designed to do, the Supercarrier was still the most powerful warship humanity had ever built. Her guns spoke with voices of thunder, and Velcrin ships began to die. But the aliens were desperate now. They knew if they failed here, their entire fleet would be destroyed. They focused all their fire on the Defiant, hitting her with concentrated beams and missiles that exploded like small suns. "Forward shields down to 40%, Harper reported. "Portside shields at 50 and falling." The ship shook with each impact. Jake heard the groan of metal being stressed beyond its limits. Somewhere deep in the ship, something exploded, and the lights dimmed for a moment before backup systems kicked in. "Keep firing," Jake said. "We hold this line no matter what." On the tactical display, he watched Wing Commander Peter Stone's squadron racing toward their position. Stone had seen what was happening and was bringing every fighter he could gather to help, but they were still minutes away and the Defiant was running out of time. "Captain," Sophie said, "I've got an idea. If we rotate the ship 90 degrees and present our ventral armor, it's the thickest section. We could take more hits while our guns keep firing." "Do it," Jake ordered immediately. The Defiant began to turn, a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship her size. But Sophie wasn't using conventional controls. Her mind was linked directly to the helm, and she could feel the ship's movement like it was her own body. The carrier rotated, bringing her heavily armored belly to face the incoming fire. The change in tactics worked. The Velcrin weapons still hit hard, but the thicker armor absorbed the impacts better. Meanwhile, the Defiant's guns never stopped firing. Jake watched with grim satisfaction as 3 more enemy ships exploded, then 4, then 5. "Stone's squadron is in range," Harper announced. "They're engaging." The human fighters swarmed over the remaining Velcrin ships like angry bees. Using their neural link systems, the pilots performed maneuvers that physics said should be impossible. They flew through incoming fire, threading between enemy ships, striking at weak points with surgical precision. Peter Stone's voice came through the communication system. "Defiant, we've got your back. Keep up that fire and we'll handle the rest." Jake allowed himself a small smile. "Good to see you, Commander. Try to leave a few for us." The battle became chaos. Fighters and warships twisted through space in a deadly dance. Explosions lit up the darkness. Debris from destroyed vessels scattered in all directions, and through it all the Defiant stood firm, her guns never ceasing, her shields holding against impossible odds. "Last Velcrin ship in this group is disabled," Harper said. "They're all dead in the water." But there was no time to celebrate. On the tactical display, Jake saw that the main Velcrin fleet was trying to regroup. They'd taken heavy losses, maybe 100 ships destroyed or disabled, but 100 more were still functional. And now their commanders knew what they were facing. All ships fall back to the Defiant, Jake ordered. Reform around us. We'll face them together. Earth's fleet, battered but unbroken, moved to join the Supercarrier. The fighters returned to rearm and refuel. For a few precious minutes there was a lull in the fighting. Kyle's face appeared on a screen, covered in sweat and grime. Captain, I've got teams working on the damage, but we're in rough shape. The jump drives are offline. We used them too hard. If we need to make another emergency jump, I can't guarantee they'll work. Understood, Jake said. We won't jump again. We'll finish this fight right here. Admiral Grant's communication came through from Lunar Command. Jake, you need to know. The remaining Velcrin fleet is calling for reinforcements. They've sent a distress signal to the nearest council station. More ships could arrive within hours. Jake felt cold. Even the Defiant couldn't fight forever. If the council sent more fleets, if other species joined the Velcrin, Earth would eventually be overwhelmed. Admiral, we need to end this now. No drawn-out siege. We hit them so hard they never want to come back. What do you have in mind? Grant asked. Jake looked at his tactical display, studying the position of enemy ships. They were regrouping, trying to form a new battle line. They'd learned to fear the Defiant's main gun, so they were spreading out to make themselves harder to hit. Lieutenant Miller, can we execute a full rotation? Bring all our weapons to bear on different targets simultaneously? Sophie studied her console. It would put a lot of stress on the ship, especially in our current condition. But yes, we can do it. Then that's what we'll do, Jake said. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. All Earth ships, this is Morrison. We're going to execute attack pattern Omega. The Defiant will engage multiple targets. I need every other ship to focus fire on whatever we soften up. We're going to break them here and now. Captain Stone's voice came through from the Liberty. Understood, Defiant. All ships acknowledge and are ready. The Velcrin fleet began their advance. They moved more cautiously now, no longer underestimating their enemy. But caution wouldn't save them. Attack pattern Omega, Jake ordered. Execute. The Defiant began to spin on her central axis. It was a maneuver that should have been impossible for a capital ship, but the engineers who designed her had thought of everything. As she rotated, each of her weapon systems came to bear on a different target. The main quantum disruptor fired at the largest remaining Velcrin carrier. Side-mounted railguns targeted cruisers. Missile pods launched their payloads at destroyers. Point defense lasers created a web of death that shredded fighters. It was like watching a master painter at work. Every weapon fired in perfect coordination, and every shot found its mark. Velcrin shields collapsed under the barrage. Hulls cracked open. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield. Earth's fleet joined in, focusing their fire on ships the Defiant had damaged. Working together, human warships fought with a coordination that came from shared purpose and determination. They were defending their home and they would not fail. Enemy fleet is breaking apart, Harper said, his voice filled with awe. They're scattered across half the solar system. On the communication channels, Jake could hear the Velcrin commanders arguing with each other. Some wanted to press the attack. Others wanted to retreat. The consensus that had made their fleet strong was gone, replaced by fear and confusion. Then, through the chaos, a single voice cut through. It was Fleet Commander Zektar speaking from his disabled flagship. Human Captain. The Velcrin said, his voice heavy with defeat. We surrender. Cease fire, please. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was exhausted, covered in sweat and blood from minor injuries. The ship was damaged, her hull scarred by weapons fire. But they'd done it. They'd defended Earth against impossible odds. All Earth ships cease fire, Jake ordered, but maintain combat readiness. If any Velcrin ship so much as twitches wrong, destroy it. He activated the communication link to Zektar's flagship. Fleet Commander, order all your ships to power down weapons and shields. They will remain in position until we decide what to do with them. It will be done, Zektar replied. The arrogance was gone from his voice, replaced by something that sounded like respect. Captain Morrison, I underestimated you. I underestimated all of humanity. That was my mistake, and my fleet has paid for it. Yes, you did, Jake said coldly. Now your fleet will jump out of Earth space. Go back to the Council. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is not weak. We're not prey. And if anyone else comes looking for a fight, they'll face the same fate you did. They will hear your message, Zektar promised. The galaxy will know what happened today. Jake watched as the surviving Velcrin ships powered up their jump drives and began to leave. One by one, they vanished from Earth's space, limping back toward Council territory. When the last one was gone, Jake finally allowed himself to relax. The bridge erupted in cheers. His crew hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. They'd faced the greatest military force ever assembled against Earth, and they'd won. Admiral Grant's face appeared on the main screen, and she was smiling. "Well done, Captain Morrison. You and your crew just saved Earth." "We all did it together, Admiral," Jake replied. "Every ship, every pilot, every person who believed we—" The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full. Every species that held a seat, and many that didn't, had sent representatives. The curved walls of the massive structure were packed with aliens of every conceivable shape and size. But today all eyes were focused on the human delegation. Admiral Lisa Grant walked through the center of the chamber with her head held high. Behind her walked Captain Jake Morrison, Wing Commander Peter Stone, and Chief Engineer Kyle Davis. They wore clean uniforms, but nothing could hide the exhaustion in their faces. It had been only 5 days since the battle for Earth, and they'd spent every moment of that time preparing for this meeting. The Velcrin ambassador was already present, standing on his platform with his head lowered. His forearms hung at his sides in a posture of submission. Next to him stood what remained of Fleet Commander Zektar's command staff. They looked smaller somehow, less impressive than they had before. The council speaker, an ancient being named Thoril who resembled a floating jellyfish made of light, called the session to order. "This council convenes to address the recent conflict between the Velcrin Empire and Earth," Thoril announced, his voice translated into every language present. "The galaxy has witnessed something unprecedented. A species we considered minor has defeated one of our strongest military powers. Explanations are required." The Velcrin ambassador stepped forward. "Honored Council, the failure of our fleet is entirely our responsibility. We underestimated Earth's capabilities. We thought them weak and found them strong. We thought them backward and found them innovative. The fault is ours." Murmurs spread through the chamber. For a proud species like the Velcrin to admit fault so openly was shocking. Then Thoril turned to Grant. "Admiral Grant, you will now explain how Earth secretly constructed a supercarrier capable of defeating 200 warships. Some council members believe you violated our technology sharing agreements. Others claim you developed weapons that pose a threat to galactic peace." Grant stepped forward, showing no sign of intimidation despite being surrounded by hundreds of alien species. "Council Speaker, Earth has violated no agreements. Every technology on the Defiant was either developed by human scientists or legally obtained through trade. We simply chose not to advertise our progress. You lied to us," a representative from the Thoraxian collective said, his insect-like features twisted with anger. "You showed us inferior ships while hiding your true military strength." "That's deception, is it?" Grant replied calmly. "Or is it simply good strategy? No law says we must show you everything we build. No agreement requires us to remain weak for your comfort. We protected ourselves as any species would." Another voice called out from the upper levels. "You've destabilized the entire power structure. The Velcrin were one of our strongest military forces. Now they've been humiliated by a species that joined the Council just 15 years ago. What's to stop Earth from trying to dominate the galaxy?" Jake stepped forward, joining Grant at the center of the chamber. "Council members, Earth has no interest in dominating anyone. We built the Defiant to defend ourselves, not to conquer others. The Velcrin came to our space with demands and threats. We responded. That's all." "But your ship," Thoril said. "This Defiant. It represents a significant shift in military capability. How do we know you won't use it aggressively?" Kyle Davis spoke up, his voice carrying an edge of frustration. "Because that's not who we are. Look at human history. Yes, we fought wars against each other, but we also built things. We explored. We created art and music and science. When we finally unified our planet, we didn't do it through conquest. We did it through cooperation. The Defiant is a tool for defense, nothing more." Grant pulled up a holographic display. "Council, I'd like to show you something. These are the schematics for the Defiant's main weapon systems. I'm providing them to you freely, no strings attached." Shocked whispers filled the chamber. Species throughout the galaxy would have killed to get access to that information, and Grant was just giving it away. "Why would you do that?" the Thoraxian representative demanded. "To show you we're not hiding weapons to use against you. Grant replied. Earth wants to be part of this community, not rule it. But we will be treated as equals. No more ultimatums, no more threats. We've proven we can defend ourselves. Now we want to work with you, not against you. Thorol floated closer to examine the holographic displays. These designs are remarkable. You've taken our technology and refined it in ways we never considered. The quantum disruptor alone represents a breakthrough in applied physics. Human engineers are good at finding new solutions to old problems, Kyle said with a hint of pride. But we look at things differently than you do. That's not better or worse. It's just different. A new voice spoke up, this one belonging to Ambassador Chen Wei, Earth's diplomatic representative. She was older than Grant, with silver hair and the patient demeanor of someone who'd spent decades negotiating complex treaties. Council Speaker, Earth has prepared a formal proposal. We request full membership status with all associated rights and responsibilities. We offer to share some of our technological innovations in exchange for access to advanced scientific data, and we propose the formation of mutual defense treaties with any species interested in cooperation, rather than confrontation. You want equal status? The Thoraxian said. After being part of the Council for only 15 years? Species usually wait centuries to achieve that position. Usually species don't defeat a fleet of 200 warships either, Commander Stone said. We've proven ourselves. What more do you need? Thorol was silent for a long moment, his glowing form pulsing with what might have been deep thought. The Council will need time to discuss these proposals. This session will recess for deliberation. As the various representatives began talking among themselves, Jake noticed something interesting. Several alien diplomats were approaching Grant and Chen, not with hostility but with curiosity. They had questions about Earth's technology, about human culture, about the possibility of trade and cooperation. The Velcrin ambassador approached last. Up close, Jake could see scars on his purple skin, probably from the battle. Captain Morrison, the Velcrin said, I owe you an apology. I called your species primitive apes. I said you had no rights beyond what the Council granted. I was wrong. Jake studied the massive alien. Your fleet killed thousands of our people. Ships were destroyed. Families lost loved ones. Your apology doesn't change that. No, the Velcrin agreed. It doesn't, but perhaps it's a start toward something better. The Velcrin Empire has no wish to remain enemies with Earth. If your admiral is willing to share technology, we would be willing to trade other resources, perhaps even discuss a defensive alliance. Why? Jake asked bluntly. Why would you want to ally with us after what happened? The Velcrin's 6 eyes focused on Jake with surprising intensity. Because you showed mercy. You could have destroyed my entire fleet, including the disabled ships. Instead, you let us leave. That speaks well of human character. And because, frankly, I'd rather have Earth as an ally than an enemy. Over the next several hours, the Council debated Earth's proposal. Jake and the others waited in a private chamber, monitoring the discussions through translation feeds. The arguments were heated. Some species supported Earth immediately, others remained suspicious. A few suggested placing restrictions on human military development. Sophie Miller, who'd come along as part of the delegation, paced nervously. What if they say no? What if they try to force us to dismantle the Defiant? Then we refuse, Grant said simply. Earth doesn't take orders from people who won't treat us as equals. We've proven we can stand alone if we have to. But when the Council finally called them back, Thorol's announcement surprised everyone. The Galactic Council has reached a decision, the speaker said. Earth's request for full membership status is granted. Furthermore, the Council acknowledges that humanity has contributed significant innovations to galactic science and warfare. Several species have expressed interest in formal alliances with Earth. Grant kept her expression neutral, but Jake could see the satisfaction in her eyes. The people of Earth accept the Council's decision. We look forward to working with all species as equals. However, Thorol continued, there are conditions. Earth must submit to regular inspections to ensure your military development remains defensive in nature. You must share at least some of your technological advances with the Council, and you must agree to participate in Council peacekeeping operations. Chen Wei nodded. We find these terms acceptable with one addition. Any Council peacekeeping operations involving Earth forces will be voluntary. We'll help where we can, but we won't be used as mercenaries for Council politics. Agreed, Thorol said after a moment's consideration. Welcome to the Council. Earth as full and equal members. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species applauded, others grumbled. The Thoraxian representative looked furious, while the Velcrin ambassador actually seemed pleased. As they left the council chamber, Jake felt the weight of what had just happened. In less than a month, humanity had gone from being dismissed as primitives to being recognized as a major galactic power. The Defiant had changed everything, just as Admiral Grant had.